Rish Chodesh Adar, 30 days before Nisan. So he finished the tractate of Pesachim. This was in a certain year that's recorded in writing. An interesting thing that I noticed is, in general, the Baal Shem Tov says he received it from his master, from his teacher, Achia Hashileni, who would come and learn with him. He taught him 10 years in learning, from when he was 26 to 36 years old. Taught him the secrets of Torah, and then he told the Baal Shem Tov, you're on your own, and you have to reveal yourself. People have to know about you. Otherwise, you have nothing to do in this world. This is your mission. So the Baal Shem Tov said that there's a custom to learn every year, on the day of the birthday, the new kapitel, the new chapter that corresponds to the age of the person. For example, a person that becomes 13 years old, they learn the 14th chapter. A person becomes 60, they learn the 61st chapter, because they're going into the new year. An interesting source for that, very interesting source that the Rebbe once marked in a footnote, is we see it by David, King David. King David said Psalms. It comes to the end of chapter 72, he says, this is where the tefillas, the prayers of King David end. Kolu tefillas David ben Yishai. The end of Kapitel Ayin Beis. How long did David live? 70 years. Where was he up to? Chapter 71. How does it come into 72? So the Rebbe brings a very interesting verse in the Talmud. The Talmud tells us in the Tractate of Brachas that the first two kapitlach, chapters, are considered like one. So therefore the 72nd chapter is the 71st. So this is corresponding to David's age. And he passed away by 70. So therefore it says, Kol Tfilas David ben Yishai. This is where it ends. And then there were the prophets that came. There was Moshe Rabbeinu said 11 chapters, from 90 to 100. So there are different Medrashim. Bnei Kerach said chapters, but this is David's. What I noticed was that the Rambam himself hints to it also. The Rambam was 35 years old when he began writing his master book, which is the Yad HaChazaka, the halachas, all the halachas, the laws of Torah, all comprised and compiled together in 14 sections, in 14 books. Yad is 14. Together it's comprised of 83 titles of halachas, groups of laws. And he goes through everything, not only as the Shulchan Aruch discusses things that are relevant today. He discusses things that relate to the temple, things that relate to sacrifices, things that relate to Mashiach, things that relate to kings. All these laws are all included in his huge work, which took 10 years. The Rambam began, he was 35, he concluded by 45. By 45 it's told in the scriptures that the Rambam's father came with another person to see what he wrote. And after the second person agreed, consented, and was pleased with it, they told him that they were pleased with it, and the Rambam found out then that the second person was Moshe Rabbeinu himself, that looked over the Chibur. This is what's mentioned in Sfarim. The first verse with which the Rambam begins his master work of Yad HaChazaka, there's always a verse in the beginning before he begins the groups of halachas, is Mishoy Chazdecha Liyedecha B'Tzitkoscha Liyishri Leiv. Draw your generosity to the ones that know you, B'Tzitkoscha, and your tzedakah, to your charity, to Liyishri, to the ones that have a straight heart, not wandering. This happens to be, and everything is exact, chapter 37 in Psalms. Exactly the age of the Rambam, chapter 36 in Psalms. Exactly the age of the Rambam when he began writing the book. Okay, now we're going to discuss the different customs of Chabad after we see that commemorating a birthday and the significance of as a birthday is marked and noted in many different circles in the Jewish nation, and actually mentioned in the Talmud the significance of what it means. So we'll mention now different customs that the masters of Chabad had on the day of their birthday. The fifth Rebbe of Chabad would say a maimer, a Hasidic discourse on that day, in honor of the birthday. The Rebbe would also, the previous Rebbe would also commemorate that day, Yud Beis Tammuz, which happens to be also the day of his redemption, his liberation from the prison in Shpalerke in Russia. The Rebbe would commemorate that day with a Farbrengen, with a gathering. When the Rebbe became 70, the Rebbe Farbrengt. There was a gathering every year for the next 16 years. There was one year that the Rebbe notified that the people that will go out on that film campaign, putting on film with people, every person that will make a resolution that they're going to start putting on film from that day, the Rebbe said, I am paying half of the price of the film. For every person that makes that resolution. This was 1 year project. There were different projects that the Rebbe made over the different years. The Rebbe once explained that what is the significance of Yom Haledes? It is similar to going out from Egypt. When we go out of Egypt on Passover, in a spiritual sense, we celebrate it, we commemorate it. It is going out from exile, going out from the bondage of Egypt, going out from the boundaries, from limitations. And every year, it extends. What is considered last year the redemption from Egypt is considered this year the exile of Egypt. Because every year a person reaches the potential of striving to higher heights. And therefore, every year a person needs to go out from themselves and demand from themselves more and stretch and reach a higher goal. The same thing is also with a birthday. A birthday, a person receives more energy, assets, potential, and they can always demand from themselves more. Last year, they made a resolution, so and so. This year, they are a year smarter. If they're a year smarter, there's a famous quote, Ayor elter, ayor frimer. A year smarter, a year more religious, a year more involved in refining oneself, enhancing oneself, increasing in the study of Torah, in fulfilling its commandments. This is basically the idea of a birthday. A birthday is that there is a higher bracket, and therefore a person could reach and stretch to higher. And this is what a person is given, and that energy is there. A person just needs to fulfill it. When it came in 1988, it was the occasion of the Rebbe's wife's birthday. It was already after her passing. And the Rebbe then established the campaign of celebrating a birthday. Everyone should celebrate their birthday. And the Rebbe explained that the question is, why didn't we see it in earlier generations? So the Rebbe says, the answer is very simple. Number one, everything in Torah has its time. In the same way that Torah waited 26 generations till the giving of the Torah was given, as the Medrash says, Hakel Yofa Osa Bi'ite, everything has its time. In the same sense, this also applies to all the different customs and all the different things that were instituted by our rabbis over the courses of the many generations. And the same thing also applies to birthday. And as the Rebbe explains it specifically on another occasion, that since we find ourselves close to the end of the exile, and we need to finish the refinement of all the sparks that are in the exile, so therefore, this is another project that a person takes a day, which seems to be a very regular day. It is a weekday. Most of the people were not born on a Yom Tov. They were not born on a Rosh Hashanah or a Sukkot, or many people were born in the middle of the year, an ordinary day. And they take that day, and they reveal in it that this is their luck, this is their mazel, this is their strength. And especially as Chassidus explains that mazel means the essence of the neshama, the essence of a person's soul. And that is revealed on that day. And they commemorate it, and they fulfill it with different customs, as we'll mention further. So this becomes a contentful day, and that day is elevated to higher spiritual meaning and standard. And therefore, the Rebbe then initiated the different 10 customs in regards to one's birthday, in order to make it an auspicious day, that a person should receive an aliyah, should be called up to the Torah the Shabbos before the birthday, and if the birthday falls out on a day of Torah reading, also on the day of the birthday. A person should also increase in giving charity before the morning prayer and the afternoon prayer of that day. And if it falls out on Shabbos or Yom Tov, so they should give it on the eve of that Shabbos or Yom Tov. Matev, the Rebbe says, and better would be even also afterwards. A person should increase in prayer on that day, should concentrate and meditate on the meaning of the prayer, thinking about the greatness of the Almighty, and also saying at least one of the 5 Svarim of Tehillim. Tehillim is divided into 5 books. 5 Svarim, each Sefer has tens of chapters. The first one finishes, I think, at the end of 43. So basically, around there, so this is the end of the first section, the first Sefer. A person should also learn the new chapter of Tehillim that they're going into, and this is also customary that throughout the year, every Rish Chodesh, a person learns a verse of their kapitel, of their chapter in Tehillim, with commentaries if possible. A person should also increase an additional study time, learning the revealed part of Torah, the Talmud, Halacha, and also Chassidus. This is in addition to the standard studies that a person has every day. A person should also learn a Hasidic discourse, and if it's possible to give it over, to relay it to others. Also to approach another person and bring him closer to Judaism, introduce him to the commandments of Torah. And a person on their own should also seclude themselves on this day, as we mentioned earlier, taking in consideration how the year was and what needs to be added and enhanced.